Welcome back, everyone, to our next session with Digital Futures 2021, Driving Digital Innovation. Now, our next presenter is as funny as she is intelligent. Her name is Bel Cook, and she will be doing a presentation called The Pathway to Achieving and Maintaining Digital Ninja Status. Now, Bel has been in the digital industry for 13 years, creating software and technology even before smartphones were invented. Remember the Nokia days? She has delivered over 400 projects and has worked with clients such as Google, Apple, Woolworths, and many more. Her presentation will take you through a timeline of how she worked her way through different industry sectors and how the pandemic changed the digital game. She's had to adapt her clients in different areas of the country due to different requirements and restrictions, and has been working in the digital industry for so long, even before the pandemic, of course. All right, let's throw to her. Welcome, Bel Cook.
G'day, my name is Bel Cook and I'm from Digitally Buzzed. I'm here to talk to you today about our drive with digital innovation. So we are a small software company, we're local in Darwin, and we create digital solutions, anything from software development to app development. So today I'm going to be talking to you about the pathway to achieving and maintaining digital ninja status. I refer to myself as a digital ninja, and I'll take you through my career history and how I got to digital ninja status. For the last 13 years I've been working in technology. My actual job title is digital producer, but ninja sounds cooler. So firstly, I'd like to start off with talking about digital agencies and explain what a digital agency actually is. In our instance, it is software development. So typically with our agency, you'll have a digital producer, which is someone like myself, kind of like a glorified project manager, but with more technical ability. So we have the ability to source solutions ourselves, enough technical knowledge to scope them and say what is and isn't possible. We also have digital designers, which are also UX consultants, which means user experience. These guys do all graphic design and web design and create the general user experience of what we're building. So right down to where the button goes and how that will affect everybody when they click on it and enhance their user experience. We also have a team of developers, which you may have also heard of software engineers, or programmers. So these guys are the guys who actually create and build everything that we are designing and for all of our projects. There's different types of developers that we have. They might be web or app, but yes, they're the guys that build everything that we do. We work together collectively as a team, and we test everything from the beginning to the end of our whole project process. Typically, there's usually male developers from my experience. I've worked with hundreds of developers, and in my career, I've only worked with 3 female ones. This is what a digital agency typically looks like. We all have MacBooks and sit around a table with our tech and work out ideas and search out software solutions. So I'm going to take you from the beginning of my career and where I started in digital and where I've ended up with today. As I mentioned, 13, almost 14 years now I've been in the industry. So way back when I started, there were no iPhones. We were just out of dial-up days. So the very first project that I worked on was with the good old BlackBerry. The BlackBerry was one of the first phones to ever have email available on your phone. So in those days, it was only plain text email. No images, no links, nothing fancy, pure messaging. My job was to send out mass email campaigns for big companies such as Adobe and big software giants such as VMware. And we send out emails to all of their customers in hope that we get more lead generation. Created our own software that did all this, but today you can get an off-the-shelf program for about $10 a month and do this yourself. So to give you an idea, this is the Motorola Razr. This was my favorite phone ever. But the exciting thing about this phone was that we started to have internet, which means we could look at websites on your phone. Granted, it took about 3 to 5 minutes to load, so it was quite a lengthy process. But yes, it was a very exciting time and started to change the way that we did things within digital. Back then, we had websites that we were building that were only built for desktops only. So there was no such thing as a mobile-friendly website at that point. Here you'll see, so this is going back to 2007, the original eBay website, and also we've got the Simpsons website there as well. Back then, this is when we could start adding colour 2 websites and put in links. And as you'll see, it's pretty busy and all over the place. Then came the iPhone, which was a huge game changer. It was a smartphone, which was crazy. You could also look at the internet and more things just other than a website. You could look at email, send and receive with images and links. You could do streaming and watch things such as YouTube or videos. Now, apps was a big game changer. We hadn't had them before. This was something completely new. So at this point in my career, I jumped ship and went into app development after I did software development. In that time, things happened so quickly. We had iPads come out and tablets. Smartphones were like coming out like crazy. There was a new device every year. So each time there was a new device and an update, we had to learn how to build that off the fly to make sure they worked on these latest devices. At this point, things were rolling on pretty quickly within the digital world. Google was now coming up and taking over Yahoo as a browser with all these changes. We had an introduction of SEO. We had Facebook coming in and social media platforms. People could now post things in real time and live, which hadn't happened before, and interact with each other automatically through their apps and their smart devices. Browsers had to come in and make all these changes. Unfortunately, Internet Explorer was not the #1 browser. So we now had to make things mobile friendly with browser changes, SEO changes, social media changes, device changes all at the same time. And just to throw the spanner in the works, at this point, we also started having video conferencing, which of course was available on your smart device as well. So all of these things are happening and evolving. I'd never been to uni, so we had to learn all these things on the fly. And to be honest, the unis didn't even have this available yet to teach. So we were the pioneers creating this sort of stuff. Now, fast forward, over that 10-year period, essentially at this stage, I've worked around a lot of digital agencies. I was probably around about 400 projects deep in creating all sorts of technologies and all sorts of softwares. I'd worked for a lot of big names and had a lot of big clients, Google being one of them on a project that I can't talk to you about. We created app development programs and prototypes. We even created an app that built an app and worked directly with Apple. Coles went and got a prepaid mobile phone system, so Woolworths had to compete. We had 5 weeks to build a prepaid mobile phone system for people to register. We rolled out touch screens in all the Optus business stores around the country. You pick up a handset off the display unit and it will show you the information on the touch screen. We built your own cars online, Subaru and Toyota. You select all of the car parts and the extras that you want in your car and you see it come to life in front of you. You could even online order and purchase your car. We'd worked on other projects such as Sydney Opera House. We created a website where the content would be varied depending on your interests on Google and the location you were in order for them to sell more tickets based on what they think you would like. The big banks, all of the big banks, software, security, reporting dashboards, apps that showed you where your money was being spent in real time, cardless cash, app payments, all those sorts of things we did just as it came in. We worked for a lot of not-for-profits as well and foundations. Starlight was one of them. So we created almost an online chat room for kids that were in hospital that matched up to each other based off their same illness, so they could talk to each other while they're in hospital and support each other through their difficult time. Virgin, we created the in-app flight program on the back of the seats that you see on planes and restructured that. We even put sensors on racehorses and all around the racetracks, so we could measure the data and the speed of these horses to see how fast they were going, what position they were on the track, and feed this data and information back to the trainers so they could change their training strategies for these horses. So by this time, I'd done a lot of things. I'd covered a lot of areas in digital. I was up to date. I was getting well known in the industry. I'd won several awards. And I didn't know what to do next. Where do I go from here? At the top of my game, I'm in Sydney. So I decided that I was going to quit my job, sell everything I own, and within 2 weeks, I'd move to Alice Springs because that's the place to be. That's when I became a Territorian. So at this point, I was working out what I wanted to do. And then I came to the conclusion that I think I'm a digital ninja. I think I can do this for myself. I've done it for all these big companies. I'll give it a go. Maybe this is my opportunity to bring the territory up with the times. So off I did. I created my business. I slowly poached everybody I'd ever worked for, the good ones, and created a small team. And we did projects not only locally, but also around the country. But I still wasn't quite happy, I'd learned all this stuff and it's good, but I need to still stay ahead of the times, I'm the pioneer. So I tried my hand at virtual reality. We created virtual experiences using a headset that you place on your goggles and have an interactive and engaging experience. We created safety inductions for work companies to have safety inductions on different sites that they've never stepped foot on. So by the time that they go to that location to work, they were already inducted and had virtually walked around the premises. This then led us to the next step of what we love to do the most is augmented reality. So we applied the skills that we had for virtual reality and kind of applied it again for augmented reality. What you see in this video here is my business card that I've actually turned into an augmented experience. We turn our apps into an interactive experience where you hover the camera over the top of an actual physical object and you see it come to life on your screen. In this example, we've actually made it interactive and engaging where if you tap on one of those icons, it will interact and open up something else, in this case, a website. We've also created things for the Darwin Street Art Festival and created a lot of the murals and the artworks around the city and brought them to life. In fact, we actually built the first augmented reality app for the territory for the Digital Futures event in 2019. This event, we created an interactive treasure hunt around the venue where people had to go check in on their markers and tick off a list of things they had to find. So that was a bit fun. So thank you, Digital Futures. At this point now, we're doing all this cool stuff. We're getting ahead. We're introducing new technologies and fun things and cool projects while still doing the regular digital stuff, websites and stuff like that. So I'm at this point now where I'm planning for my wedding. It's early 2019. All my friends are getting married. I'm really trying hard to work out how I can incorporate digital into my wedding because, Vicky Mitchell from year 11 is also getting married 3 months after me. So I need to make it happen. So I start researching all these digital things that I could incorporate. What can we build? What can I make a business expense? What can I not damage my wedding budget with? And so I decided that I would like to have a drone light show. So I researched a supplier for these drone light shows, and it's where these drones have these LED lights in them and they make a formation in the sky. So there's no cameras on them. They actually are choreographed to make patterns in the sky. I searched and searched and searched, and there was no suppliers in Australia. Huge in Europe, huge in Asia, not here. So I thought, we'll give it a go. 18 months later and a lot of crash drones, we created our own software, which we're about to launch. Now the drone shows, what we did was we applied the same technology that we'd used for augmented reality, but instead of putting it into an app for your phone, the actual object would be the 3D model we create and to create a choreography sequence in the sky and then make them light up to the drones. So each drone is individually programmed to a certain light spectrum and a certain position of geolocation in the sky. And that's how we do it to form these patterns. We can now use our drones up to 500 drones at a time in sequence. The video you see here is 20, and the biggest competitor in the world is Intel, who now have a world record of 3,500 drones flown at one time. So we've still a long way to go. So this is all good. We're running along. Everything's going great. We're almost ready to launch the drone shows. And then boom, COVID happens. Everything changed. Everything changed within a week. That stage we were running 16 projects, and within a week's time we'd had 56 projects under our belt. We were running around like crazy. The phone was running off the hook. We were building solutions for businesses quick. We had to get everybody online, e-commerce happening, online deliveries, you name it, we built it. And it happened quick. I even had to get extra resources and had an additional 22 staff members just to keep up with everything. I could not get any other contractors or employ anybody else at that time because they were all also contracted too. They were busy on other projects doing the same thing for everybody around the world. We worked endlessly and we worked tirelessly. Our goal, it was a very tricky situation, was to help these businesses to keep them afloat. We wanted them to keep going. We didn't want this to ruin them. As a business owner, I know exactly how that feels. And there was a certain sense of guilt at that time. You know, we were absolutely booming while we're trying to stop people from absolutely falling apart. So we did what we could. We absolutely strived to the best of our ability, worked around the clock to make sure that everyone could get online. We were tired, but we kept going at it. We're also sponsored by Red Bull a little bit. So at this point, you can imagine every industry, right? We had lawyers, we had medical people for teleconferencing, we had online deliveries for takeaways, restaurants, bars all around the country. We did e-commerce for turning into shops, into actual e-commerce online shops. We got documentation that were in files and physical paper documents loaded up into the cloud. We had to help people work online with their video conferencing and get online and how they can share information quickly rather than walking over to somebody else's desk as I had the week before. We also did a lot of marketing, digital marketing, Facebook ads, Google ads, Instagram ads, you name it, online advertising through the roof. So all these projects were all running at the same time. By the 3 months that it had ended, we had done 87 projects, which is what we usually do between 6 and 8 months in the year. Some of them large and some of them small. So as a business, we had to change the way that we did things in order to get these projects out the door. You know, getting more people is one way to doing it, but we're used to working at home. We've always worked from home. We've always been online. We've been doing this for over 10 years. It's nothing new to us. So where did we streamline our business to make it better with COVID now? The difference is that instead of creating all these softwares and technologies as we normally would, because we have the time, we then opted to get off-the-shelf software, which means that we purchase somebody else's software and license it. So things like online deliveries, QR codes, anything that anyone could do to be contactless, we used it. So this way we could use off-the-shelf things and get them up and running within a few days, sometimes the same day. So that's the way that we had to change things for the way we do it. The better thing about it is that we've been trying to get people to use QR codes for at least 10 years, and now everybody knows what it is and they all use it, thank God. So before, 5 years ago, the way that we use QR codes would be that if you had an Android phone, you would have to download a special app to be able to scan that. So now you don't need to, all the phones have it and everybody is using it, which is great to see. So our lessons learned. One, we're here in, well over 12 months now of the pandemic. What we've learned now is that our clients are used to working from home, and our clients down south particularly are used to going into lockdowns every now and then as well. So they essentially just go straight into COVID mode. They know what to do to get themselves online. They have practice from all the other lockdowns of how to use everything online. There's no further training needed, and they just go ahead and get it done, which is great. So I think if anything, it's reduced the fear about working online, and a lot of people have now realized how many face-to-face meetings are not necessary and could actually be an email or just a quick video call as well. So from our perspective, it's actually made our lives easier in a lot of ways. So in this talk, I've covered a lot of areas now, and I've mentioned a few areas of digital. So I've done a lot of digital areas in my career so far. And so there are more and more and more areas growing every single day. Gaming is becoming a huge industry leader. We've got online games, we've got phone games. It's not just limited to consoles anymore. If I was doing what I was doing 13 years ago today, I would be irrelevant. I would be completely out of date. So if you're looking at a career in digital, there's always something going on. The pandemic has actually helped this. So I think people are looking a little bit more into the digital side of things and being less scared of it. I think there's a lot of career opportunities coming up, and there will always be new digital niches coming up as well. You will never be doing the same thing forever because technology doesn't work that way. It's forever evolving. So if you're looking at doing something like this in the future, then definitely look at what you would enjoy doing, because there are a lot of opportunities. These digital ninjas you see here at the moment on my core business, but in 5 years' time, I'm going to see some more ninjas on there, I think, as we progress with technology and do some new things.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bel. What an impressive career that you've had. You've worked with just some of the absolute biggest brands in the world. I'd love to ask you, what are some of the projects that you're proudest of?
Hi. That's a tough question. There's quite a few things that we've done. I'd have to say, although we've done a lot of cool projects, the Starlight project was one of my favorites. It was kind of like rebuilding Facebook, but just for internal use of hospitals and kids in hospitals. So we kind of, match these kids up by illness or disease or whatever they were going through, and also create an online forum for their parents and also their siblings. So each person could match up to each other depending on what the illness and what was going on at the time. And then they could talk to each other in real time and live chat to support each other with advice. So it was pretty cool. And we also got to see the kids online chat as well, which is pretty creepy, but it's kind of fun to see, what 10-year-olds talk about in a group chat room.
I can see why you'd be proud of that one for sure. We've had a few people say how incredible the drones are. I want to ask the wedding game. We're going to have to up the wedding game now with individually programmed drone lights making hearts in the sky. Is that something we've got to look forward to?
Yeah, I'm thinking I could start like a wedding line for drones at the moment. So at that stage, our wedding was actually cancelled because of COVID.
Oh.
So I was planning to have 40 drones at that stage, but now I know I could do 500. I think everyone in town's going to know when I'm getting married.
I love it. All right, Heidi has sent through a question. Who are the digital ninjas that you look up to?
Oh, that's a good one. Actually can't think of her name right now, but there's a girl that created Canva, an online design tool. She was actually a digital designer, and she created this software that everybody can use and design, and it totally changed the game in the design world. So people have actually become less reliant on hiring a designer and can create logos and banners and documents themselves from home using a drag and drop system. And I think she was in her early 20s at the time, and she's now worth over, I think, $20 billion or something like that. So
I remember seeing an interview with her recently, and I am a huge Canva user. I think a lot of us business owners are, definitely, and anybody really, and they keep kind of progressing. It's amazing. Yeah. We've had Nat come through with a question. How do you decide what digital path to go down when the industry is constantly updating?
You just really do what you like to do. Like, for example, I don't really like cyber that much, so I kind of steer clear from it. So whatever you feel like something would be interesting for yourself, just go ahead and give it a crack. As things evolve for me, when apps came in and, mobile-friendly websites, I thought that would be really cool and interesting to work on. On the other hand, I also go for things that will be a latest trend that I think is really going to take off, because I know that will secure me with a job or a project later on. So yeah, do something that you like and something that you find interesting.
Excellent. Laurel wants to know where to get the augmented reality artwork that you mentioned.
Oh, the Darwin Street Art Festival app is available for Apple and Android. If you just go into your app stores and search for Darwin Street Art Festival, you'll see it there. We're actually doing some updates this week and next week. So again, it's been a Red Bull week, but we're creating new augmented reality experiences, and the Darwin Street Art Festival is starting at the end of the month. So you'll see new murals being painted, and then they'll be updated into the app later on.
I want to ask you one of the original questions that has come through for a few of our presenters. How did you find being a female in such a male-dominated industry?
Yeah, look, at first I didn't really notice that it was a thing, that there weren't that many females. And it's an interesting question, right? So people, there's often talk about females, needing to get into technology and this sort of divide and imbalance. But I think it really depends on what area of digital you're in. So, for example, I've worked with hundreds of designers, and I'd probably work with 3 male designers and the rest are females. Project managers, probably about the same, ratio. Usually they're typically female. But when it comes to programmers, then they're typically male. So I think it does depend on the area of digital that you're in. But being more on the technical side, like myself, I didn't realize until I went to the territory actually, and was like, yeah, actually on reflection, I don't think there has been very many technical females around.
What advice, with you've got so much experience in the tech industry, what advice would you give to someone trying to break into the industry?
I think that if you're trying to get into the industry, I mentioned that I haven't been to uni. So my advice is that give it a try and join a digital agency to give it a go. There's two sides to digital that we talk about. One is digital agency side, so our side where we're creating stuff. And the other side, sometimes known as the dark side, is the client side. So you could be, for example, my clients we're working on the same project. So join a digital agency if you'd like, and give it a go. You can learn, there's so many online courses and things that you can learn about as well, just to try different areas of digital to try it out. But it is an industry where you need to work 24/7 at some points, depending on the project that you're on. And yeah, it can take a lot of time.
I did want to ask you as well, and you just touched on it, work-life balance. How does that go for you?
I'm the worst at work-life balance, but I am getting better. So as things happen with projects, there are the peaks and troughs. So you are working 24/7 at some point during the project. If someone's app or website goes down in the middle of the night, you're the first person they call. You need to wake up and get everybody on it. So for me, I'll always make sure I schedule some downtime toward the end of a project or during a lull time. I have a very needy Labrador, so I go to the park every single day for an hour, make sure I get out, get away from the screen, go for a walk. And Saturdays I just sleep in and have a rec day.
Perfect. Look, our last question for you, Bel. What areas are you working on, and where do you see the digital industry pivoting to next?
It's an interesting question. I think that apps are about to have a whole new lifespan in the way that apps are built, particularly with the way that new iPhones and Android updates are coming through. The other area that's huge at the moment is data, and lots and lots of data in different ways. It could be web data, analytics, online social media data, using people's interests on Facebook and Google is an absolutely huge industry. So online advertising is a massive thing at the moment. But then you've got Apple who's just changed the rules. So I think it's going to pivot and evolve in a whole new way again.
Got to stay on top of it. Thank you so much, Bel Cook. That was a brilliant presentation. We look forward to chatting to you again in the panel. All right, everyone, I hope you have enjoyed that. We still have another presentation to go with Yvette Adams, and make sure you click out into the timeline and click into the next session. We'll see you soon.